in batch, we included some critical ones like EC2 VPC, EC2 transit, together with autoscaling instance refresh, EC2 launch template, and just to name a few, for example. Then we also had like 4 new modules for autoscaling instances and some other 2 new info modules for EC2 launch template and EC2 VPC address internet gateway. We also had like several bug fixes, so that allows us to like improve the functionality of like plugins, for example, AWS EC2 inventory plugin, and several other modules in the collection like EC2 volume, S3 bucket, S3 object, and so on. The Amazon.aws collection has dropped support for Boto core lower than 131 and Boto 3 lower than 128. However, modules in the community, not the community, the collection, sorry, will continue to work with older versions of the AWS software development kit, but let's say the compatibility is not ensured and tested. The Amazon.aws collection requires Python 3.8 and also Ansible core to 16. Lower versions of Ansible core are not supported. So that's what's new at a glance. And now let's focus on some new features and see how you can leverage those in your daily automation experience. So basically, the first one is for the EC2 VPC route table module, which now supports the ability to pass the transit gateway ID directly in the route. This option is particularly useful for scenarios where you may want to set like a centralized networking through an AWS transit gateway. And this makes easier, let's say, the management of the networking infrastructure and the scaling of the whole VPC networking infrastructure. So over there, I included also an example. So you may not use it right now, but maybe if you're looking at the slides later, it can be like useful. So the next one is for the EC2 instance. This is like a very exciting new option because it allows like a better management and easier management of EC2 instances. So for example, with this new feature, you can scale your EC2 instances on the fly. So you don't need to stop your instances, change your instance type, and then restart your EC2 instance. The module is doing that on your behalf. So this use case, this option may be like suited for use cases where you may need like to scale up and down your EC2 instances depending on scenarios like traffic peak or cost optimization. So for example, when demand increases, you may want to scale up your instances just to ensure you have like the infrastructure, the necessary infrastructure. While when peak decreases, you may want to optimize your cost. So in that case, you scale down your EC2 for example. So the next one is for the RDS instance, and this is also a pretty interesting new feature. Now the RDS instance modules allows you creating like multi-tenant container databases. So these kind of databases are used for multi-tenant software as a service applications. So basically, with multi-tenant software as a service applications, you may have like different tenants sharing the same container database, but with the difference that each tenant's data is like stored as a pluggable solution, making it easier to ensure like security and also isolation. So by using the multi-tenant flat, you can obtain that in the RDS instance module. And then the last feature is for the CloudWatch Logs log group metric filter module. So the module now supports the ability to specify like units and dimensions for metrics. These new options are particularly useful when you're like working with API latency log and you want to categorize them, So it allows you like to have like a more precise analysis of your log. So for example, if you want to measure, let's say, the API latency in milliseconds and categorize your log by tenant ID and environment, this is like a great use case scenario where you can use these new options. So it will be like easier to access the logs because you are using like a categorization, you have already like a unit, and yeah, it makes really easy. So now, as I mentioned before, let's see which are like the changes for developers and contributors. So basically, we had like some breaking changes. We include like breaking changes in major releases. So this is something that we had in the 9.0 release of Amazon.aws. So this means that we had a breaking change for the module utils, which now has made like connection time parameter mandatory. This is also something that is helping us to ensure that the configuration parameters are consistent. And in addition to this breaking change, we also try to improve like the overall handling of boto-core errors, and we transition from boto-core session to boto-free session. The changes you are seeing here are mainly related to the Amazon.aws collection. But since community.aws and Amazon.aws are sharing the same module utils, so what here is also impacting the community.aws collection. Then we have and still have like a code quality improvement initiative, and we started already this initiative, and some of the major modules have been already refactored, so, like S3, EC2, and RDS modules. During the refactoring process, we of course rename some variables for consistency, and we also are using like type hinting, and we also will try to add type hints for the other modules as well, and which will also undergo refactoring. So since this is like an ongoing initiative, you will see more coming in the future. And we also try to make some updates to the documentation, just to be sure that what we have is like up to date and correct. So I guess almost all the modules in the collection have been updated. So the return block of almost all the modules has been returned, so has been updated. So each module will return like correct information. And we also adopted the Ansible semantic markdown format, just to make it like more consistent, more easy to read and understand. Now, as I mentioned before, let's see what's in store for the Amazon.aws collection. So the first thing you're noticing is like the 10.0. This is like the next major release of the collection, which will be happening around May, June. For this release, we have already planned some work around the AWS SSM connection plugin promotion. So we have already started the refactoring process in the community.aws collection. Once we will be finishing the refactoring, we will be working on the critical, let's say, bugs of this module, and then we will be migrating it from community.aws to Amazon.aws, and it will become like a Red Hat supported and Red Hat certified module. There are also other modules on the list to be promoted, like SDS, session tokens, secrets manager, secret, and SSM parameter. But these ones are contingent to time availability. So I don't know if you want to contribute, if you want to stay updated, if you have like suggestions, just feel free to follow the GitHub issue there. As I mentioned before, the initiative around the code quality improvement of the whole collection is still ongoing. So there will be other refactoring coming up. And last but not the least, since we're stepping like into 2025, 5, we are trying to, let's say, find better way to support some of the AWS AI ML services. So just stay tuned for this month if you are interested into. And now I will spend some words on how to get involved, because sometimes it's hard starting maybe, and not everyone knows how to do that. But it's like really easy. And so we really welcome new contributors, new contributions, so don't feel afraid doing that. And we have like some information into the guidelines for Ansible, Amazon, AWS module development. So there we will find like all the information you need, but please don't be afraid, and you can also ask, for example, by joining, for example, the AWS working group, and if you're also interested into like participating in meetings, asking questions, or I don't know, sharing feedback or meeting other community members, you can also join like the AWS community meeting, which is happening like on the 4th Tuesday of each month. And the next one is like on February 27 at 1:30 p.m. US Eastern Time. Another way to start is like looking at easy bugs, for example, or good first issues. So they are really great to, I don't know, to give a try and see and find, let's say, easy ways to contribute. In addition to this, you can also join the Ansible community forum, as Don mentioned before, and there you can also participate in discussions, ask questions, and I don't know, interact with a broader Ansible community, of course. I don't know if you need more resources. I also left a link to my blog post here that you can access after. So, yeah, the presentation has ended. This was almost everything. I really hope you enjoyed and gained valuable insights about the Amazon Web Services automation with Ansible. So, yeah, feel free to reach out to me to join the forum, and thank you again for joining the session. So, do you have any questions? But if you have hard ones, the person behind there will be happy to answer.
Okay, well.
So, questions? Perplexed? You have a question?
No, I was just like kind of thinking, taking a mental note so I could pick up pistachios myself and like, go through it. But yeah, no questions for me. I mean,
the only major question I might have is how the slides are available. I'm just checking the website.
yeah, that's a great question. Actually, the slides will be available on the forum. I know we've started recording. I mean the Ansible forum, which isn't the config management thing. I suppose we should upload the slides to the schedule.
Yeah.
So
That's the proper way.
that's the done thing, yeah. But they'll also be available on the forum. But yeah, thanks for the reminder. But yeah, cool. So I guess yeah, we need to do that.
In any case, if some other question will be coming out, you are free to ask.
I got one for the group.
Oh.
Is there any particular areas that aren't covered right now that people would like to see show up in the Amazon AWS collection, or certain areas to focus on? AWS has a lot of stuff going on. Is there anything that anyone here is like, oh, I wish there were some modules for this? No? We're perfect? Will you please add that to our employee review? Okay, I just thought I would ask. If anyone thinks of anything, please feel free to stop us, myself or Alina. We'd love to hear if there's something we could focus on that we haven't gotten around to yet. I tried.
You can also post anything on forums. So
And that too.
Actually, Alina, I do have a question. What's the process like for choosing which modules you pick from the community.aws
Yeah.
upstream and incorporate it into the Ansible AWS function?
When we have like a customer use case, we will try to support it, so that's how we choose the modules. And it may also be that sometimes some of the modules, which are like the most used ones, for example, we also may consider those. But let's say the main thing would be like having a customer use case behind.
Do you find that there's a correlation between the most used modules and the quality that they end up having, or not really?
I don't know that, Tim. Can you help on this?
If I do, it's only anecdotal, which is usually more, it's like, what's the old line, with enough eyes, all bugs are transparent. It's sort of that sort of thing. So yeah, it's, the more popular they are, the more they get looked at, the better the code tends to become. And then it also, as Alina said, enough of our customers will say, like, we're using this, we want this supported, and that's when it makes the leap from the community package to the Amazon.aws one.
Wait, is it Amazon AWS or Ansible AWS?
It's Amazon.aws is the supported package. And then community.aws are the ones that are, you know, that came through the community. Yeah.